Greetings, it's Ian from... Oh, that sounded a bit groggy. Greetings, it's Ian from RTO here. Welcome to another album ranking on a Tuesday. Well, we got no rain. We eventually got out at some stage yesterday and we literally went round the block and it started raining again. It was a total washout here, not very nice at all. Today, it's there as well. A bit of blue sky, but not much. Anyway, got a viewer's request. Well, he's not a viewer, he's a collaborator, he's a friend of the channel. It's Mr. Richard McCook, and he asked me to do Altered Images, a band that when we was all growing up in the 80s we all thought Claire Grogan was quite a nice person. Very successful in the early 80s. They were from Scotland. They were a new wave post-punk band, branched out into mainstream pop music, had 6 top 40 hits and 3 top 30 albums. They had a sort of a period in the early 80s, and then they disappeared, and then they've come back, and they're sort of still performing today, I do believe. So they've released 4 albums. So, coming in at number 4 is their most current album, and it was their first album in 38 years. It came out in 2022, and it's called Mascara Streakz. So on here we have got Claire Grogan vocals, Stephen Lorini on the drums, bass guitar on one track is Robert Hodgins. Stephen Lorini plays all the other instruments, lots of backing vocals, Bernard Butler, Charlotte Printer, Ellie Lorini, Roxy Rizzo, Stephanie Black. So the first track is the title track called Mascara Streakz. Okay. For a start, Claire sounds great, the voice sounds fantastic. It's the only one that really, one of the only tracks that really sounds like old style Altered Images. Yeah. The next one's called Red Startles the Sky. Oh dear, I don't like this. This is very poppy, and I think it's been described as one of the other guys in the vinyl community described this as a Kylie Minogue style song, poppy, and they're not far wrong. It's too poppy. It's nothing to do with the new wave post-punk Altered Images. So, Claire sings on it great, but I just don't like the song. Colour of My Dreams, it's catchy, it's quirky, it's alright, I suppose. Glitterball, again, it's a bit there. I wouldn't go jumping up and down for joy on that one. Your Life Is Mine, it's one of the tracks that sort of reflects the old style of Altered Images, but it's not particularly fun. Home, oh dear, very plastic. Ugh. And then the song, one song that could have been done in the 80s, and that's Beautiful Thing. It is pretty much like some of their sort of later stuff of the 80s. It's okay. Probably the best track on the album. Changing My Luck, plastic, generic, boring. Nothing to it at all. Lost of Love, again, it's just manufactured pop. Doesn't sound right, except from Claire. Double Reflection, very new wavy. It's not too bad actually. The Flame, worst track on the album. It's just awful. Sleep, it's okay. The vocal is strong from Claire, and that was the last track. Not impressed with this album at all. It's more of a pop album. They didn't need to go poppy. If they'd have come out with a sort of the old sound, I think it'd have been a bit more favourable with fans. But Claire, the only good thing about it, Claire still sounds alright. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 4 out of 10. Coming in at number 3 then, we have the third album, released in June of 1983, called Bites. And it was their last album until 2022. So on here we have got Claire Grogan, Johnny McHone, Stephen Larini on drums, Tony McDade on guitars, and we've got Peter Vitesse on vocals, Holly Beth Vincent, Farcia organ, Andy Hamilton on saxophone, Bernie Malcolm, Laurie Osborne, Morris Michael, Annie, Mark and Mo on backing vocals. So the first track on here, Bring Me Closer, certainly moved away from their origins of their music. This is more that sort of poppy mid-80s thing. It's got a little groove, but I'd say it's Claire's worst vocals. I'm not particularly fond of that one. Another Lost Look. Yeah, this is okay. Got that lovely tone on the bass. You know it's an Altered Images. It's a really good vocal from Claire. Not a bad track at all. Love to Stay comes next. Too much drum machine and not enough drum. Stephen's a good drummer. You don't need a drum machine. Well, that's all I'll say on that one, shall I? Now that you're here, I'm not keen on this one. It's a little bit wishy-washy. Don't Talk About Love, the big hit from this album. It's my favourite, one of my favourite tracks on here. Classic. I do like that one. Stand So Quiet. Yeah, it's okay. It's sort of moving away from new wave, more into 80s pop. It's okay. My favourite track on here is Change of Heart. It's a great vocal from Claire. You know it's Altered Images from that first beat. A really good song. Thinking About You, it's okay. Yeah, I remember when I heard this songs off back in the day, I thought, oh dear, they have changed their image. They've changed to being a new wavy sort of band to more mainstream pop. And yeah, I sort of went off them a bit, but I did like Change of Heart and Talk About Love. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 5 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 2 is the debut album from 1981, and it's Happy Birthday. Claire Grogan on the vocals, Michael Anderson on the drums, Tony McDade on guitar, Johnny Mahone on bass, Jim McKibben on guitar. We've got Gerald McNulty on guitar on A Day's Wait. So the first track on here is a little bit of Happy Birthday. You get the intro. And then we get Love and Kisses. Really like this song. Always like this song. Some great guitar work here from Johnny and Jim. It sounds great. Claire sounds great, of course. Real good track. Then we get Real Toys. Another of my favourite tracks on here. I love Claire's vocal on this. Some great drumming here from Michael. Real good track. Idols. Another great track. Nice sounds of guitars on here. Really strong track. Legionnaire, a great bass line from Johnny. My favourite song on this album. It's one of my favourite songs by Altered Images as well. It's just something about this. It's a great vocal. It's definitely got that new wave sound to it. Faithless. Interesting track. Very sort of the crossover between post-punk and new wave. Reminds me of what Japan were doing back in 1981 as well. really interesting track, and it's a great vocal from Claire. Beckoning Strings comes next. Great new wave track. The bass line's great, quintessential track. The drumming from Michael's great. Really good track. Side 2 starts off with the big hit, Happy Birthday. Not a great fan of this, but I think it's grown on me as time has gone on. At the time I wasn't that impressed with it, but I quite like it now. I sort of more like it now than I did in 1981. Midnight. I've always said, and people have looked at me a bit bizarre, this track is the nearest thing we got to a British Blondie. It's quirky keyboards, and it's a great vocal from Claire. You know, I do sometimes think that these were like the British equivalent of Blondie, or they were trying to be. Yeah, poor man's Blondie. But it's still a great track. Days Await. The guitars on this are really, really good. Done by Gerald McNulty, does the lead on this. Great track. Leave Me Alone, a nice track. Great vocal from Claire. I like the guitar work on here is quite daunting. Insects. Probably the best bass line on this from Johnny. Really, really good bass line. Sort of drive the song along. And then we get the outro of Happy Birthday. This is a really good album, very underrated as well. They've got some great tunes on there. The new wave sound is there. So the guitar work on this is very, very good. I really enjoy this album, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. But my number one, and I think it's a lot of people's favourite album from Altered Images. It was their second one, released in 1982, and it's Pinky Blue. On here we've got Claire Grogan, Michael Anderson, Tony McDay, Johnny Mahone and Jim McGibbon, with John Peel and Martin Rushton's backing vocals and whistling. Yes. Pinky Blue opens the album. My favourite track on here, one of my favourite tracks by Altered Images. The drumming from Michael is superb. It's a really good opening track as well. See Those Eyes, another great track. The drumming and the guitars work well on this. Claire Grogan, absolutely stunning vocals on this one. Forgotten, good track, lots of whistling. Now, is it John Peel doing the whistling or Martin Rushton? It doesn't say, but there's some whistling on it. Yep, it's not too bad at all. Little Brown Head. The Johnny's bass line is absolutely brilliant. It's that drumming though that really dominates it, and another stunning vocal from Miss Grogan. See You Later. Probably the weakest track on here. This is where they sort of started changing. It was a little bit more poppy. It's not my favourite track on the album. Then they do a cover of Neil Diamond's song Sung Blue, which I find quite quirky. It's a little bit different, and I do like it, believe it or not. It's a guilty pleasure on this album. Funny Funny Me, a little bit like Happy Birthday, but they sort of took Happy Birthday and sort of rejiggled it a little bit, made it a little bit more deeper, and it's quite a clever little track actually, even though it does sound like Happy Birthday. Think That It Might. Shall we shout again, Ian? Think That It Might. My second favourite track on here. It's just one of them tracks of the time. I remember this a lot. I had a friend. There was a friend's sister that was really into Altered Images, so that's how I come at things. She was always playing Altered Images from a bedroom. Great in this album especially. It's a great song. Then we get the big hit. I Could Be Happy. great pop song. Love the vocals on this and the guitar tones. Such a quirky little track. Jump Jump comes next. Another early 80s pop songs, that new wave sound. I really like this track. Then Good Night and I Wish. It's a slower song, and it's something different, and it just shows the versatility of Claire's vocals. I think this is a great little track to end the album, and one that no one remembers. Okay, this was just, I think, Altered Images at the best. I think 1982 was their year. You couldn't keep them off the telly. They were always in smash hits in all the pop magazines. Okay, you know, you listen to it now, it does sound a little bit dated, yes, but it's, it's still a great album, and I do like listening to it. I have a lot of fun listening to this again, lots of memories. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.6. So there we go, a little bit of Altered Images. Just Claire Grogan, I mean, she was an actress as well, wasn't she? She was in Gregory's Girl, and she was also in Red Dwarf. She was the original Chikansky. So great thing, and she still, she still sings great today, and she hasn't altered much. She hasn't aged. She's aged very well. I think she still looks as cute as she did back in the 80s. But enough of my over that. Okay, up next is Retro Ranking, and this week it's a band, an instrumental band that I sort of grew up on, because I had a dad that was mad into these. I mean, my dad is a guitarist, my brother is a guitarist, and the quintessential sound of the Shadows. So that's what we're doing, and we're doing a top 20 because I had more in my honourable mentions than I should have, so I just made it 20. So that's coming up soon. Bye for now.